Hello. Welcome to another episode of Funded Founder Fridays. This is episode 4. It's the last one of the month. And today we're going to be talking about trust, which is the currency of every startup ecosystem.
Yeah. Um, Welcome. And that's our last show this month. And trust is what is building any relationship and any ecosystem. So it's not just the currency, is everything.
Yes. So on Funded Founder Fridays, we want to create a space for founders to ask honest questions about the startup journey. So we create the space to have conversations with investors, with mentors that can help guide that journey. This month's theme has been community building. And we discussed all sorts of things. So we talked on the first episode, we talked about the Valley of Death and how it can be very difficult to navigate the Valley of Death and what that is, and how it's a space where startups are and founders are struggling, questioning the journey, questioning everything about it. And what were some of the lessons that we learned?
Yeah. So the valley of death is where you are running out of resources. So basically, if somebody has raised money, this is where they are running out of money. The resources are low. If somebody hasn't raised any money, is where you're just running out of your personal and friends and family resources. All the credit cards are maxed out, all the bank accounts are empty. And you don't have any other resources, you cannot get a loan, no one really gives you any money. So this is where you are at the valley of the death, and we discuss how we can get out of it.
Right, and how community is often how founders can get out of it, and why that's important in community, right? Yeah.
Because the biggest thing with the valley of death is if you surround yourself with people in your ecosystem and the community, they can help you with the resources. Like, for example, if you have a product and you get your first rounding of funding, then you're going to get help to find clients, more revenue, and introductions. That's kind of like, and then a lot of people will help you to find more resources in the community and the ecosystem.
Right. So no founder gets out of the Valley of Death alone, do
Yep.
they?
Mm-hmm.
They need the community. On the second episode, we talked about branding and messaging, and we had Keetrick Kearns and some student founders that put together an organization. I mean, I guess it's a project rooted together.
Right.
I don't think they're licensed or like official yet. But we had a couple of guests on our second episode discussing the importance of branding and messaging and how that ties into pitching and just pitching your startup to investors and communicating what you're doing.
The biggest lesson from that episode is when you have a great idea, how you communicate that to your most important people in your startup journey. Your customers, right? Second, your partners, people around you, and third, investors. People think like, oh yeah, the most important person in this journey is investor. In any startup journey, the most important group of people are customers. You need to have customers, and you need to communicate this great idea to your customers in a way that it resonates with them. They wanted to learn more about it. They want to pay for it. So that's the whole thing. They need to learn about it, and then they pay for it.
Right. And I remember Keetrick really speaking to the importance of storytelling in this and how important it is for you to learn to tell your story in an impactful way.
Yep.
Right.
And each story has a hero, and most of the time, the customer is the hero, and we are just a guide. And this is the framework by Donald Miller, the Keetrick masters that framework, help a lot of startups, including us, to craft our messages based on we are the guide and the hero is the customer. So we are here to guide them. We are not the hero, because if the story has two heroes, heroes will clash. So when you talk to customers, you shouldn't talk about how awesome you are. You should talk about how you can help them to be awesome.
That was a great show.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people here. I love that was the first show that we had guests at.
Yeah.
On the third episode, we talked about investing like a VC and asked Ben all sorts of questions on. That's a great episode of just really breaking it down to what investors are looking for, what exactly startups need to prepare so that they are investable, and just kind of like the due diligence that has to happen in that process.
It's important you understand where you are. If you're a startup, it's important to understand where you are in your journey, right? And are you ready for funding? Right. Are you an investable startup? And when you look at from an institutional investor like VCs, they are looking for certain signals. So basically, the first step, you need to understand where you are in the journey. Who is the right investor for you? Is it friends and family? Is angel investors? Is institutional investors? Second, are you checking all the boxes, right? Because friends and family, they want to see some signals. Angel investor, they're looking for another sets of signals, and VCs most definitely they're looking for another sets of requirements to be checked so they can invest on you. Right. So you need to understand where you are, how ready you are to look for investment, and then going through the checklist and see if everything is checked. And for investors, it's important you have access to a good deal flow, right?
That is the word of the month.
Right, the deal flow. Like every startup in the investor eyes is a deal. So if you not have access to good deal flow, then you can have access to good startups, and you should have a process for outreach, intake, due diligence, and making the decision.
So can you break down exactly what deal flow means?
Deal flow is it's just a process of finding, performing the due diligence, looking at all the requirements, and making the decision of the investment on any companies. So when you look at the deal flow, it starts with outreach. And some VCs, they don't have a deal flow out there. They just rely on introductions and warm referrals. Some of them, they have a website. You can go to the website. There is a contact us section. There is an email. There is a LinkedIn page. You can just message them. But most of the time, if you don't really know what is the deal flow and what is the investment thesis and how they invest, a lot of times you're messaging the wrong VCs, and you're not going to get any response from them. They get like 500, like 1,000 requests sometimes.
Right. So it's important both for investors and founders just to, I mean, obviously to know their ethics and their and what they're looking for. Obviously. Yep. So bringing it all together to the theme or the topic of today, where we're talking about trust. We're realizing that all of these different things that happen within the Valley of Death and branding and pitching and investing all depend on this invisible form that kind of runs through ecosystems and communities, which is trust, and which is what we're talking about today. It's something that, just as I've been in conversation this week with other people, has come up, and just how you even build trust, right? How you build trust on a personal, just on a personal level with like human to human, but then also how you build trust as a startup with an investor or with a mentor or with somebody that's looking to be involved in what you're doing and what they're actually looking for. There's actually we were at STEMGO Pro Day yesterday at the Shell Energy Stadium, and I was able to talk to Ana Machado from Latinas in Tech. And she brought this up of how, as a Latina, she's had to move through male-dominated spaces where she's often been the only female and the only Latina, and what it has taken for her to build trust on a personal level. And she's like, I just had to get really good at numbers. I had to make sure that my data and like and all my T's were crossed and all my I's were dotted and everything was perfectly reported on and presented, right? And you think that that's like a no brainer, but she was like, I had to be like really, I had to master it. I had to get really good at it. And now that's what she does for Amazon.
Yeah. You know, so they say people do business with the people that they trust, right? Trust is like the basic of any relationship or any business. So if you don't trust a brand or a founder or a business, you don't really do business with them. That's just like the simplest concept.
Right.
But what is important here is any relationship starts with trust, and then it evolves to more relationship, evolves to more interaction, more engagement, and then becomes a permanent and relationship between a brand, a company, and customers, brand, a company, and investors, partners, anyone else, and a company, a person, or a brand with the ecosystem.
And so for us with Creatopia, a lot of our motto, or why we center so much on creativity, is because in my mental health background, I realized how much safety is needed in order to be able to be creative, and how play really functions as a kind of like social lubricant, when you're building trust and you're building community. So with safety, but first you need safety and like mental safety, and we can talk forever on what like actual safety means. But if you're in a state of fight or flight, you cannot create. You cannot have original thought. So how can you? And if you're in a state of fight or flight, how can you trust somebody, right? Like you're probably hypervigilant. You're actually like your brain, like your amygdala is, which is what registers fight or flight, is more active because you are in that survival state. So even how you're engaging in conversations or how you're engaging in the ecosystem itself is kind of through that filter of you're not relaxed. So that's why play is important, why play is important to creativity, and it's just so great to see. There's been a lot of research of how like play in youth, just why kids play a lot when they're younger, and how much that builds social bonds, and how much that builds, like that's how they learn to lie. That's how they learn to imaginate. That's how you learn to create. It's in those environments where you're just naturally socializing without really having to think about it.
I think that's the basics for innovation and creation, right? So can you tell us more about, from your experience in, in psychology, how do you see creating a safe space can help people first to innovate better and then collaborate better?
Right.
Like these two important things, innovation and collaboration.
Again, it's that state of mind. It's that relaxed state of mind that really allows you to have a clear state of mind, to be able to think, logically, to be able to process things. So when you're innovating, right, like you need original thought. You need to push the boundaries. You need to think outside of the box. And with collaboration, you need to continue to be able to trust.
And that's very important, because in innovation ecosystems and in startup ecosystem, when you are a founder, this is your baby, this is your idea, right? And you are going out in the ecosystem and you're sharing your thoughts and your ideas and your secret sauce with others. So just feeling safe to share the ideas with others is important for somebody to be able to communicate and share that idea with the ecosystem. And I think the second thing is how people are gonna receive that idea. If somebody goes to this ecosystem and share the idea, and people are starting criticizing and just providing really criticism and destructive criticism, the person will not feel safe to go again and seek for help.
Right. Right. Because sometimes you have ideas that you probably think they're out of the box, right? You're probably like, this is a crazy idea. Nobody would ever. So if you're already doubting it and you don't have that space where you can come and experiment with it, come and play with the idea, right? Because that's what innovation and iteration is, really like experimenting with the idea and breaking it apart and having other people criticize it. But if you don't have that foundation of trust, then how can you go through that experimental process, right? Which is what a lot of like early stage startup life is, right? Like you're iterating and you're like, I have this idea, but where's my market?
Yeah.
Like, what does it actually look like? Like, is it actually a good idea? Right? So how do you, yeah, right. So the importance of being able to be in a community and but at the same time, what do you need? Like what kind of NDAs or what kind of like things
Right,
do you need
right.
in place? Because that is also a thing, right? People can steal ideas, and I have heard of like horror stories of people
Yeah.
sharing their ideas,
Right.
and then they see somebody do it, or they're even like part of cohorts, or they're part of some other type of program where they shared the idea, and then the idea was pretty much stolen from them.
Right. It should be like both ways. Like, and I think even when you have the idea, you need to understand what level of trust you're putting into people and communities, right? And a lot of time, this is what I tell every founder: look at your secret sauce and define it, and think about how much of that you wanted to share with others. Because when you're in a pitch competition, when you're in a cohort, you cannot go around and sign NDAs with everybody, right?
Right.
But what you can do, you can just identify, this is my core secret sauce. I don't want to give this away. I don't want to talk about this. I just wanted to communicate my idea without giving away my core secret sauce. That way, you're protecting your idea. But now, if there is a due diligence, someone says, hey, I wanted to learn more about it, then you can sign a NDA with that person, with that group, so
Right.
they can come and they learn more about the idea, because now they're serious about it.
Right.
That way, you're protecting the idea. But again, all these important things should be consulted with a legal counsel. And every time you want to do something, every time you wanted to disclose, for sure consult a legal counsel on what are the steps that you need to take to protect your idea.
And when would you say like a patent should be put into place?
Even the patents, right? Those are, again, things that there are attorneys, there are legal counsels that they are very advanced in filing and defining those patterns. But you need to think about everything that you think, everything that you do, every idea is not patentable. It's not like you can patent anything that you can think of. So again, it's the matter of protecting your intellectual property the right way. So consult with somebody that is expert in this area. They will tell you what are your options. And just don't, like, from the day one, don't go chasing the patent or NDAs or any of that because you think the only way of protecting this idea is just fighting for patent. Go consult with somebody that knows how you can protect your idea the best.
And you should at least have your market product fit before you do that, right?
You know, there like sometimes even in ideation you need to do it. You know, like it's really important. If you think this is a secret sauce that somebody can easily copy it, if you ask an investor, if I put my investor hat, I will tell you this is not a good idea. If somebody can easily copy your idea, but if it's a noble idea, it's a noble innovation, and if you go after patent at the beginning, then you can block any other competitors. Just do it. So it's just important you understand like where you are, and consult somebody that can help you. And there are like again like the importance of ecosystem here. You can go and talk to people in the ecosystem and ask for help. Yeah, you know, I have this great idea. What do you think? They're like product experts that they can tell you. Yeah, you can go, and this person has helped others for filing patent, protecting the IP, and they can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have a question from the audience? I see. I don't think our cameraman is here yet. Yeah, so thank you. This is a great conversation. Let me just say a fact real quick while we get our studio camera ready. Apparently, so one of the facts that I found was that high trust communities exchange knowledge significantly more often than low trust communities. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
And again, how much more when you have more diversity, just how much more can be exchanged and how much more can grow like quantumly almost when you have that trust and when you're able to break down silos and break down things that or bring things together, bring ecosystems that are doing similar things, bring them together and innovate together. So how trust can significantly impact the knowledge that's shared within ecosystems. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think knowledge is one of the biggest assets that we have, and any company, any ecosystem, any startup can use.
Yeah. So we have a question here from the audience. We do want to take a little break and just say hi to everybody that's here. Hi to people online. I see some people on Instagram. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. Just say your name and let us know what you want to know.
Hi, I'm Trent Kirksey. I'm the CEO, founder of Veil Technologies and the Gateway Center here in Houston. And on the conversation regarding ideation and sharing of those ideas, it's as simple as an email to oneself, right? So I have an idea and it's conceptual at first. I can paper it. And then I email myself to start a layer of protection. Step 2 can be registering that in one way or another. And I'm currently holding 3 provisional patents on like 27 different claims. And it started with that idea, right? Just one conceptual idea that I emailed myself. So my question for you is, how do we get a systemic organization so that ideation can live, right? We are hampered by the reality of distrust. And my nightlife and hospitality platform, Veil, who's in live beta now. I say who because, these things live these days, right? But Veil is in live beta now, but it's my Lantern product that is in conversation with governments about solving their problems most immediately, right? The best customer anyone could ask for. And we're talking state governments, so 30 or 40 or 50 of them. But the reality is when you talk about ideation from its base format, it is hampered by the reality that we can't all come to the table and say, I've been thinking, or guess what I created, or I did 5 prior hard art searches, 5 hard prior art searches on these ideas, and there's nothing close, nothing that you could reasonably expect. And I think I might have something novel. I wrote a provisional patent application and I submitted it. It's on this. how can you use this? How can you use this? And these ideas that are novel can be used 100 million different ways and be monetized. And we could all make billions and trillions of dollars if we could be more communal. So how do we get past? What's the infrastructure answer, right? Is that an idea that I just handed out for free? What is the path to ideation being something that we can share with each other? Because I have 100 ideas, only 8 of them I've monetized, right? I've been self-employed since 2014. What year is it? 2026. I just know wake up, get money. And so I think that what we do is predicated on our access to safety and trust in combination. So what is the answer to that, right? Might be 100 answers by this point.
That is a great question. Thank you so much. That's exactly what we're doing here at the Innovation Studio and establishing a Noble Founder within the ecosystem. And yes, thank you for the idea. And we'd love to have you help us develop that system, and really for you to be integrated in what that looks like. Because we want everybody to participate in the development. We don't want it to just be a Ben and Rosalia thing. We are not the ecosystem, right? I think that we share that with our Founders Couch that's coming up. Just if you have just the thing depend on one person to lead it or 2 people to lead it, it's not going to be sustainable. So we welcome that, but that is what we want to build in this space. We want to make it so that we figure out what trust looks like. We figure out how we bring people safely into the ecosystem so that they know we're not going to steal ideas, so that they know that we're here to help them grow, so that we're here to help them in any way that we can.
And I think this is our principles. And thank you so much for participating. And Trent is doing a lot of great work, and he's one of the founders that is doing the job of a founder, someone that goes out, someone that really get things done. I think in the ecosystem, in building a startup, the most important thing for a founder is going out, making progress every day, getting things done, and showcasing that this is not just an idea, this is a product that now he's able to push it to the finish line. But from an ideation perspective, we have been talking about an idea of tokenizing ideas. So one of the things I've learned when I was sharing my idea with other investors, they said, hey, go and mail, like just print out your idea, mail it, and then receive it, don't open the mail. So that shows, like you put like a stamp on your idea, like on the date. Just emailing to yourself is another great way of, showing that the idea was, created, generated that day by you. But right now, beside NDAs, beside the trust and beside the community that you can trust, you need just to have, legal counsels and all the legal protections in place to protect your idea. And then from that, you can build it. So to answer your question, we are exploring how we can help building the trusted network, building the trusted and safe ecosystem that people can come and share ideas, and then having partners, having people that we can build together. We can help each other. And with that, someone can help with building the idea, someone can help with promoting the idea, someone can help with validating the idea, and we can get one idea from zero, an ideation stage, to fully launch commercial product. Yes. But this is in creation. So the whole, Innovation Studio and Noble Founder working together is about creating this safe and trusted environment. But I just want to put it out there. You cannot really prevent people, to steal your idea or copy your idea unless you have legal protection in place. That's the state of ideation and working on ideas today unless you know the group of people that you're working are fully trusted. That's something that should establish, should be practiced, should be proved, and this is what we are practicing here. We're establishing here.
And I mean, this is just like people skills, right? Like how do you trust, how does somebody become a friend, right? How do you trust anybody in your life, right? That's just like something to also reflect on as we grow the ecosystem, right? It's usually, if people lie, like if you catch people lying, you're not going to trust them. If people say something and do something else, like they say that they stand behind particular values or morals, and then you see them acting in a different way, at least for me, like these are the things that in my years of life I have in like different relationships, right? You have to learn to trust, and you have to learn to vet people. I think you do. And that's not a bad thing, because before I used to trust and then until they gave me like a reason to not trust, I would not trust. But now I'm a lot more careful and I'm a lot more observant and a lot more just aware, because you do have to be. And I think that's just something that, I mean, those are conversations that we can keep having and we can keep bringing up, because there is, and especially in tech innovation, right? Like where it's very technical, it's very numbers, it's very, and if you're growing a startup, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of like technical things, but there's also a lot of those social dynamics and like the social psychology that moves through spaces, right? I love my bachelor's in psychology, and that's why I love building ecosystems, because you get to see that. You get to see all of these social constructs come into play, and how creating spaces really, how creating spaces with intention, what that does, like how you can really build a space. And it really depends on the leaders and the people putting it together to be intentional to create spaces that are safe. And so what does that mean?
Right? Yeah, go ahead.
My particular assertion when it came to trust was more about an administrative system that allowed free flowing. And when I say trust, I don't necessarily mean in an individual, but I mean functionally, right?
Oh, I see.
When we provide an idea, the idea itself is a contribution. That's why it's tokenizable, right? We have all these new terms that we have to get used to. That's why it's tokenizable, because the idea lives outside of the individual. And so for commerce sake, at the speed of AI, we don't have the time to do the vetting it takes, right? So we have to move from individual to idea only. I think our responsibility to create an equitable world, because that's what we talk about when we talk about ideas, the world. To create an equitable world, we must move beyond our personal ability to trust the individual, especially when constructs are fed to us daily in 100 different mediums about what we can and cannot trust. And so in this space, the tech space, the founder space, the ecosystem space, I don't have time to get to know every player. That's why it's an ecosystem, because every player is trusted to provide its responsible contribution, and only its responsible contribution. It goes back to the George Washington approach. You have one job. And that's what this nation is founded on. Trusting one's ability to show up in their one capacity. And so as a person who ideates in 100 different ways at one time, I'll say when you pass out responsibilities in an ecosystem, ideation can be that responsibility for me, right? But then you've got Ken, who's gonna run operations, and you've got Ben, who can get you connected to the ecosystem of funding. And then you've got PR folks, and you've got media folks. All of these things are part of what you need to move anything stage to stage. But I think our responsibility as an ecosystem in 2026 in Houston, Texas, which is the world, right? We've somehow built the world in a city in Houston. And so our responsibility is to think beyond validation of an individual to validation of the idea and its contribution to these shared goals.
Mic drop.
That was great.
Thank
that
you,
was
Trent.
great. Yeah, thank you.
Can you come a little closer to, or can we move the camera? There was somebody else has a question over here. Gavin has a question.
All right, I'm gonna add on to what he said because he said a mouthful. So I'm just gonna say point blank. We can't really just worry about trusting people because at the end of the day, especially in our especially what we're doing in tech, you can create something, and the only thing that stops somebody from copying your stuff if you're really if it's really legaled up, and the problem is you can have a slight variation in something and put it out and it's totally legal and there's nothing you can do about it. Go in the app store. You know how many exercise apps there are and how many nutrition apps there are? They all do basically the same thing, but they put a little tweak into it and be done. So the thing is, we need to work on just execution and having some type of differentiator or some type of factor that actually captures the audience and actually captures the individuals that we're trying to market to. So if we have something that'll hit, then hey, that's it. And we can't really worry about protection of people trying to steal our stuff because people will steal your stuff. It's just, hey, if you have something that's innovative and something that'll expand beyond what the original idea is or the function of the app or whatnot, then hey, you go for it and then hey, you spin it off later.
Let me put a brand on
Yeah.
The entire concept must be de-identified outcomes. My name is Trenton Kirksey. I'm the founder of Veil Technologies, and I just coined for you de-identified outcomes. It's our shared goal where a contributor must not be identified. Ben said earlier, we must tokenize ideas. We must get to de-identified outcomes. It is the true path to equity.
Thank you both for sharing.
Hi. I think I have a slightly, I guess, different perspective on things. I'm in the civic tech space and building citizen infrastructure. And I guess for me, when I think about the future and the technologies that could exist, what does that future look like? We're describing one that doesn't have competition, right? So how do we create the conditions for us to be able to collaborate like this? The business models that we're currently operating with, they breed competition, right? Like, please don't steal my idea. Please don't monetize it because I need to monetize it. So what is, for me, my mindset is like, what does that business look like that gets past that and that enables co-creation? And for me, it's not a solution or like a objective. I think that like what we need to be infrastructure solve problems. And we don't need to be building a solid, like this is one solution. Because once you do that, it can't be broken down. You know, it becomes this fragile thing that once the systems or the conditions change, you know, we're going to have to re-ideate. And so this, if we can just continuously emerge with what are the solutions and then tackle them together. And then the other piece of this is understanding what it is and what are the problems that are out there to be tackled. Because if the problem is we need to make money, we're going to perpetuate the exact same system that we have today. But if we're working locally with local communities, you know, like what are those problems that need to have solutions look like? And so like creating spaces like this to start talking about it, I think is great. But I do think that's a big barrier. Like when we keep talking about, you know, tokenizing or monetizing ideas, I don't have the answers. That's why like I'm glad I'm in the room with business people because I'm just bringing this kind of like wild brainy idea of decentralization. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Megan.
Quick and fast. I'll just say as far as worry about your ideas and monetizing it. in this day, you got to be fast and you got to be quick. So if you want to monetize your idea, put it out. The automakers are even doing it. They're putting features in cars that are not even complete yet. So app creators, they're creating apps with features that are not complete yet. Anything, you get updates and constant updates with your thing. So you just put it out. As long as you got a product that is, I'm gonna say, like about 60% complete, you put it out and then you make improvements. And that's the thing. Like, don't try to be in a rush don't be trying to be conservative or whatever and just try to have the perfect product. Now today, you just got to put it out. And that's the thing. People, and I don't know, with my mindset at first, I was like, hey, it got to be perfect. But I learned, no, you put it out. People like it, then cool, you improve upon it. If people don't like it, hey, you scrap it and you move on. So that's the thing. You rather, like you said, fail fast. You rather fall early, and you know you can dump it. Or if people pick it up, then hey, you build and you improve. Yeah, just don't be stagnant or whatever. But that's really how you can tokenize and monetize your idea, is just put it out. That's it. Let me pass the mic on.
Okay. We'll come back here for a second. Just want to say a couple of points. Thank you both. Thank you all for sharing, Gavin, Trent, and Megan. Just something on what Megan was saying around sticking to the solutions. And this is something that we talked about, and how we're really focusing on integrating local problems into the Innovation Studio and the Noble Founder ecosystem, and how we'll be in conversation with City Hall and with the City of Houston and our local council members to really hone in on like issues that are very, very localized, right? They're very central to Houston, right? We have water issues, we have air issues, we have homelessness, we have human trafficking, we have things that are very much Houston, right? And
Flood issue, you know.
and so how do we, when to your point, Megan, how do we continue to focus on that and create solutions together? That's really a lot of what we want to integrate into the ecosystem, or tap into the companies and organizations and people that are already doing so much about these things, but haven't really even thought about scaling it as a business, or even integrate, or even like making it a business, right? Maybe they don't even have an LLC, much less realize that they already probably have the traction and the playbook and the things that they need to be able to scale what they're doing into a company, into a startup. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I think really great conversations and great inputs. An ecosystem provides a baseline for trust and governance. You know, there is a baseline here. So when we talk to people, we have like this vetting process. We have this due diligence process. We're having conversation with people, right? And we're going to get to know each other, and we're going to get to know how we are responsible to the ecosystem, to other people, and how we are interacting with each other. So if somebody comes and say, you know, I promise to help you with this project, and they don't, so you know that person doesn't deliver, right? But from a trust perspective, most of us ecosystems, they provide this baseline, right? So you need to really be at that baseline so we can be a part of an ecosystem. So there are things that you can do, there are things that you cannot do inside an ecosystem based on the guidelines, right? So we have guidelines, we have requirements that people should adhere, and they should like really interact with each other and engage based on those baselines. But again, you cannot really stop anybody from copying you unless you have a legal protection in place. That's number one. So you have a patent, and you have a, something that you need stops other from copying you, or you have built a brand, you have built a business, you have partnerships, you have built a strong company that the company together is not copyable. Like people cannot copy a full company, people cannot copy a brand, people cannot copy your 10 years of good service to others, right? You have this history, but there are ways. So now we're working on building tokenization for startups, for ideas, so we can tokenize. We can convert an idea into an asset, and we can use that asset because this is something that is out there. Then you can prove that somebody copied you. But still, if there is no contract, if there is no protection in place, there's no remedy.
Right.
Everybody in this conversation were right, but just keep in mind our goal in the ecosystem is to create the baseline of the governance and trust, but is everybody's responsibility to act at that baseline level and also be really cautious about protecting their ideas, protecting their IPs, and protecting their secret sauce.
Because that is your secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
We have like 8 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say one more fact that I just love. Trust compounds. Just like financial capital compounds through investment, social capital compounds through repeated positive interactions. One helpful introduction becomes two become partnerships, partnerships become companies, and companies become ecosystems. And that's what we are really looking forward to building here. I see Joseph. Do you have one more question?
So two things stuck out in some of the conversations that we're going here. I wanted to touch on. One was trying to create a startup around or the idea of stealing an idea, and then the other was trying to create a moving from ideation to what is considered a bad idea, or when do you drop an idea. It kind of speaks into the tokenization of ideas. For the first, my personal belief is there is no way anyone can steal your idea, and that's the way I see it. So I believe in more the blue ocean strategy. One of the mentors Joe Alapart, who's gonna be on the Founders Couch, he brought up the blue oceans idea, and the idea being is, as long as you're focusing on the problem, not the solution. If you raise any two kids and they will never be the same, despite having the same parents, and the same concept applies to finding a startup. Is you have this, you focus on the problem, you have this problem, you innately understand the problem, and you go about drafting a solution that's from your own personal experience. Anyone that wants to steal that idea has to go through your lenses to see the solution to that problem the same way. You can't never replicate that same solution. So the idea being, let it hang loose. Those who steal your ideas will eventually give it back to you, because it's like, you know what? I don't want to have to sit in 2-hour or 24-hour classes for a lecture because I don't have enough passion to drive it through. And then the other with being, when is an idea, how do you take an ideation into an idea? The reason why that stuck out is that actually I thought about this a few days ago, which is, as long as you have one or two companies, it's one thing to have a vision you would be the next Elon Musk or the next Facebook, which is taking an idea that's blowing up. It's another thing to say, even a startup, which startup essentially, from the recollections, is a small business that has innovation included into it. So even a startup idea can turn into a small business, meaning it doesn't have to be the next Facebook. It doesn't have to be the next Elon Musk. As long as you're comfortable with 2 customers and making money for the rest of your life. Technically, most startup must have exit strategy, but that the idea being an ideation, as long as you could have enough customers to support the idea, is a startup really ever dead? Or is it just that it never materialized to the level that the founder wanted it? And that's changes the mindset behind, does a startup die or does a startup live? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
We are coming close to the end of Funded Founder Fridays, our 4th episode on trust. And this is closing out our month on community building. We have the Founders Couch, who Joseph, who just spoke, is leading. But we have the Founders Couch coming up next in about 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes while we get set up. But we just want to close out. Thank you everybody for coming. We could be talking about this forever. I don't want to just cut you off, Joseph. But we can continue to talk about trust, and we hope to, right? We hope to continue to build on these conversations, and let's develop the systems together. Let's develop what it actually looks like in paper and what it actually looks like in action, right? And we do that together. We don't do that just Ben and I, or just me, or just whoever's in this space. Like, we really want to build that together, so we all own it and we can all grow it, and we can all make it amazing. Because the more diversity there is, the more innovation there is, and the more creativity, and the more that we can quantumly create, right? That's my hope. On our next episode, we'll be having Julie Rocky join us as a guest. And I'll read her bio, and then Ben can say a tiny bit about her.
Absolutely.
So Julie has spent her career helping companies launch, grow, and when needed, successfully navigate turnarounds. From early stage startups to rapidly scaling technology and service businesses, she brings a unique blend of strategic vision and hands-on operational leadership, while partnering with founders and their teams to turn great ideas into sustainable companies. With deep experience in venture and private equity-backed businesses, mergers and acquisitions, as well as organic growth models, she's helped guide organizations through some of their most pivotal moments. She's built the systems, assembled the teams, and created the operational infrastructure that allows companies to grow with confidence. Known for turning strategy into execution, Julie is passionate about helping founders build intentionally from the start in order that they can create businesses that are attractive to investors and positioned for long-term success. If you're an entrepreneur wondering what investors look for beyond a great idea, or how to build a company that's truly ready to scale, you won't want to miss this conversation. That'll be next Friday at noon with Julie.
Yeah, absolutely. Julie coming from Austin, and she's an expert in building, operating, scaling business. And she has extensive experience in private equity and VC. So basically, she can tell you how you just build, operate, and scale a company that is attractive to investors, and how go out and find, and fund your company, find investors and fund their company. And we're going to have a lot of great guests next week. And our plan is to do our first, founder hangout after the show, which is we're going to have people from different backgrounds here, people that really can help founders to fund and grow their companies. So we're really excited about next week, having great conversation, looking forward to a great conversation with Julie, and then hanging out with founders. I think we're going to have more of those hangouts, but this is how we want to do things. We wanted to have fun, be creative, build trust, and have serious conversations in a safe environment.
I'm already thinking of icebreakers that we can do.
Yeah.
If anybody has ideas for icebreakers or games, we welcome them. So we closed out this month with community building. I just want to throw it back to the audience real quick. If you have an idea What kind of topics would you like us to discuss? We talked about community building this entire month. If you don't have an idea right now, that's okay. We can bring it up on Founders Couch, which is coming up soon. But if you do ever have ideas of the types of things that you'd like us to discuss, please let me know.
For early stage startup, yeah, incremental funding strategies for early stage startups.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would say how personal branding impacts community building, maybe at the intersection, and how to go about that when you're just getting started, because you are a living representation of this budding brand, and so I think that would be interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, one of the topics for the next month we wanted to propose is how to raise fund and how to deploy fund, right? Getting into how to effectively for founders raising fund and how effectively for investors deploying fund. This is a topic that I think a lot of people are interested in, but then it gets into community branding. It has like a whole lot of like different topics that we can cover on the fundraising and deploying the fund.
Right. Yeah, I think a whole month of branding would be great.
Yeah.
And we have so many ideas. So at any point, just let us know your ideas. Thank you so much again to our audience that's here. Thank you to everybody on Instagram, Sandra, Elias, Yesenia, Jesse, just some of the people that I see online. Thanks for joining us online. This is Funded Founder Fridays. We also like to thank our sponsors, 801 Travis and the Innovation Hub and Iron Grove. I think Kent's out there. Thanks so much for your support. And we'll see you next Friday as we continue to build our Houston's innovation ecosystem one conversation at a time.
Yeah. See you next time.